everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, my name is Alivia Brown and I am currently a fourth year undergraduate student at UCLA studying anthropology, and today we are obviously talking about popular book recommendations for anthropology majors. Now, I actually did this video on my channel a while ago, and I focused on the main 4 disciplines of anthropology. So those disciplines are biological anthropology, cultural anthropology, linguistic anthropology, and archaeology. And basically the way that I did it was I recommended one book per subfield. But for anyone who may not know, there's actually many more subfields of anthropology. So I decided to get a little bit more creative today and focus on some other subfields of anthropology. So today I'm going to be talking about psychological anthropology, forensic anthropology, social anthropology, and visual anthropology. So if these subfields sound exciting to you and you want a popular book that everybody is reading nowadays, a recommendation, then stick around. Now, I made this disclaimer in my last video. I'm going to make it again in this video. I am not recommending anthropology books. These are very popular books that people are reading, and I think you should read because I had a good time reading them. And yes, okay, I think that's all I have to say for this introduction, so now let's just get into those recommendations. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with psychological anthropology, and I'm really excited about the book that I get to recommend to you guys for this one because it truly was one of my favorite books of the year. It was not my top favorite, but it was one of my favorites. And the popular book recommendation that I have for my psychological anthropology lovers is The Silent Patient. Now, The Silent Patient is a psychological thriller, and honestly, oh my goodness, I wouldn't say like psychological thrillers are my genre necessarily, but again, oh my goodness, this book absolutely blew my mind. I'm not kidding. You get to the end and I have nothing to say to you. Like, I just was absolutely shocked in the best possible way. So now let me tell you what this is about. So The Silent Patient is essentially about this girl. Her name is Alicia, and she's doing really well in life. She's this amazing painter. Her and her husband are really happy. Everything seems to be going her way. But The Silent Patient actually starts you off as the reader with Alicia shooting her husband 5 times. Actually, wait, let me read you guys the first line of this. It grabs you instantaneously, all right? Ready? Chapter 1, okay? Just ready? You're not ready, but we're gonna tell you anyway. Alicia Berenson was 33 years old when she killed her husband. Mic drop, first line, I'm out of here. It's so good. But the big question here, the thing that people are asking is, if everything in her life was going so well, why did this happen, right? Why did she shoot her husband 5 times? And the thing that makes this book even more interesting is after this happens, Alicia goes quiet. She does not speak following this event, hence the name The Silent Patient, and she gets admitted to this psych ward and is locked away from the public eye. And you guys can kind of imagine that after this event happens, the value of her work shoots up. People are really fascinated by this mystery. Why does this happen? And so our story really begins with this psychoanalyst named Theo, who essentially thinks that he's the guy that can get her to talk again. He goes to the psych ward. He's like, let me talk to Alicia. I think I can help. And I'm gonna leave you guys with that on The Silent Patient. Go stinking read this right now. Now, in all these videos, I like to tell you exactly why I'm recommending this for that branch of anthropology. And psychological anthropology focuses a lot on understanding why people think the way they think. And if you are looking at Alicia as an individual, you're really trying to get into her psyche. Why was she quiet? Why did she shoot her husband? And then at the same time, you're also trying to get into Theo's mind and Theo's psyche, the psychoanalyst who's essentially telling us this story. And I think it was written so beautifully and was constructed so beautifully. And this is something that if I could read it again for the first time, I would. So I recommend you think about those psychological, anthropological frameworks going into this, and I think you will have such a fantastic time. So the next category that I'm going to be talking about is forensic anthropology. Now, forensic Anthropology is a fan favorite. People are repeatedly fascinated by forensic anthropology, understanding human remains and solving mysteries. Kind of a similar vibe to psychological anthropology, but instead of like understanding the human mind, it's like understanding the crime scene or like the archaeological dig, that vibe. And so for forensic anthropology, I unfortunately do not have a physical copy of this book, but the book that I'm going to be recommending you guys is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Now, The Girl on the Train is quite an experience, and it's one of those books where you find yourself rooting for the main character when you know you shouldn't be. It's classic morally gray energy, or just morally bad, and yet you can't help yourself. But essentially, Rachel, this is the main character of this book, she takes the same train to work every day. All right, it's a very monotonous life that she seems to be living. And there is this house that she passes by every single day on the train to work. And in this house, there is this couple, right? She sees this house every day, she sees this couple every day, and she essentially creates a story in her mind about what's happening in this house and the story behind this couple. She names the couple in her head, they're Jess and Jason, I think, and she feels very connected to these people because she sees them every day. And one day when she's taking the train to work, something in this house is different, all right? She notices something, and it causes her a lot of concern. She's like, oh my goodness, this is not how it should be. And she essentially takes it upon herself to get involved in this problem that she sees. Now, this book takes wild twists and turns, and there's multiple perspectives being written from, and it goes back and forth in time, and it's something that really keeps you interested the whole time. And I am recommending it for forensic anthropology, and I unfortunately cannot really say why. But some things happen, all right, in this book, and if you're a forensic anthropologist, it could be very helpful to solve some mystery things happening in here. What would a forensic anthropologist be doing? I'm gonna let you think about that and just read the book because it's great. So sorry I couldn't actually tell you the anthropological implications there, but you're just gonna have to trust me that if you're interested in forensic anthropology, you may be interested in Girl on the Train. Now, the next book I also unfortunately don't have a physical copy of, and this book is the only one that really strays away from like my popular book recommendations. A lot of the books that I usually talk about in these videos are relatively recent releases. And so the next discipline of anthropology that I'm going to be talking about is social anthropology. And the book that I'm going to be recommending you guys, while not really a super popular young adult book, it's still fantastic. And that book is called The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Now, The House of the Spirits, I would categorize this book more as a classic, more of a classic than maybe like a popular release. But I think it's something that everybody should read. It is just so beautifully written, and there's so many incredible things and experiences that happen in this book. But what's it about, you may ask? So The House of the Spirits is essentially looking at 3 generations of this family, the Trueba family, and it really closely explores each of the characters and the family relationships, and I think it is something that is so, so beautiful, and I don't think it's very common that you see a book explore several generations of one family. The most recent thing that I've seen is Malibu Rising. I also just finished that. It's not a recommendation for this video, but it's so good. Go read it if you guys haven't. That one, it looks at 2 generations of a family, but this one, it's 3 generations. And something else that I do really love about this book is there's this really, really beautiful magical realism element that takes place in The House of the Spirits. And it's so whimsical and so familial. And yes, but I do want to say really quickly here that I feel like I've made this book sound like something so lovely and a beautiful cultural experience. And while that's true, it's also true that The House of the Spirits deals with some really challenging topics. And I actually read this for the first time in high school. And I wish that someone would have told me some trigger warnings before, just so I kind of knew what I was getting. So if you have anything that might make you upset, I recommend checking out some of the trigger warnings for this book beforehand. because the characters definitely experience some challenges. And it's hard to talk about the actual plot of this book because so many of the characters experience these different highs and these different lows, and it's not really a plot-driven piece, I wouldn't say. I'd argue that it's very character-driven. So if that's not for you, maybe don't check it out. But the reason that I'm recommending this for social anthropology is because I think a lot of social anthropologists are really interested in kinship and kin relationships and understanding how family actually impacts who you are and where you fit in to your culture. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, and you could, again, do so much analyzing, anthropological analysis on this work. So if this sounds like something interesting to you, go check it out. It is lovely, definitely one of the favorite things that I read in high school. Now, the final discipline of anthropology that I'm going to be talking about today is visual anthropology. And guys, this book is so good, like so good. I think this is my favorite book I read in 2021. And I've read 38 books in 2021, which for me is quite a lot, I will say. So to rank this number 1 out of 38 is a bold statement, and honestly feels kind of rude to the other books that I've read that were also really good. But the book that I'm going to be recommending you guys today, I do have a physical copy of, is Ready Player One. Now, Ready Player One, it was written by Ernest Cline quite a while ago, but still very popular, and I do think you should read it if you get the chance. And it is essentially taking place in the future. It's about 20 years in the future. And reality has taken a turn. Things in the real world are not good. Poverty is a huge problem. Pollution is a huge problem. I mean, so many of the issues that we have today are completely expedited in this to culminate in just a really ugly reality. And so in this book, something called the Oasis was created. And the Oasis is essentially this like electronic reality that you can plug yourself into, and people spend more of their lives in the Oasis. It's kind of like a video game, but it's not. It's like your life than they do in reality. And so people have jobs in the Oasis, people play games, people go to school in the Oasis. And so it's essentially this form of escapism from the real world. And it's written from the perspective of our main character, our main teenage boy named Wade Watts. Wade, I love you. He is so cool. And basically, we start off in Ready Player One with a little bit of a mystery, with a little bit of an exploration, if you will. And so the creator of the Oasis, very rich man, you can imagine if this is where people are spending all of their time. The creator of the Oasis dies, okay? He is gone. And when he dies, there is this tape that's released. And essentially in this tape, he's telling everyone that there are clues hidden in the Oasis. And whoever can solve these clues and put them all together gets my fortune. They get all of my money. And it reminds me of a lot of like other books, like the Weston game, I think. It's a really fun concept. And so Wade, this underdog, poor teenage boy, is like, I'm gonna frickin' solve this. And this is really cool because there's a ton of pop culture references in here, and it's a really, really visually stimulating read. I mean, I have never experienced a book where the images in my mind were more clear than they were when reading Ready Player One. But at the same time, it's not written in like a fluffy way. It's not like Shakespearean or super detailed and imagery and symbolism. No, it's very fast paced. So you can get through this probably pretty quickly. And I wanted to recommend this to my visual anthropologists because for anyone who knows a little bit or a lot of it about visual anthropology, you guys would know that it's this anthropological perspective on the visual arts, on photos, on videos, on art pieces, so much. And to go as far as to have a new visual reality is amazing, and I think would have significant impacts on your mind and this like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door, like you have two realities. I hope that makes sense. And I think it would just be so amazing to consider this with the anthropological perspective and think about the terrible conditions that lead you to spending most of your time in the oasis, this form of escapism, like I said before. And I truly just think it embodies so much of visual anthropology in a really fun and engaging way. So those are actually all the books that I have to recommend you guys, these ones and then the ones that I did not have with me today. And if you are interested in any of these, please, please, please go read them. They are all fantastic. I would not recommend you a book if I did not like it, so take my word for it. And if you guys want a part 3 of this video, please let me know. Yes, are there more subfields of anthropology? Shockingly, yes, I really could keep going with this concept. So let me know what you guys want to see, and if you've read any of these books before or have any recommendations for me, all of the things, just, you know, let me know. Leave it in the comment section. I will read it. I will respond to it. So yes, I hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic Sunday. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next Sunday. All right, you guys. Bye.